Guys, scandal is afoot in college football. Most likely you woke up this morning to news that UNLV, who's currently maybe the front runner, certainly in that front group of teams, competing for a playoff spot for that G5 if they win the Mountain West. They're starting quarterback Matthew Sluka entering the transfer portal, leaving the program because his NIL deal was not followed through with. In short, if you haven't caught up on the story, there was a promised $100,000 from UNLV's coaching staff. The Sluka's got about $3,000 for relocation fees. Now, UNLV on Wednesday afternoon released a statement essentially saying that there was no deal. They don't engage in pay for play. Blueprint Sports, who runs UNLV's collective, said there was no agreed upon deal. Both sides agree that there was no written contract, but there is a certain level of trustworthiness here that seems to possibly have been violated. And Chris, it's also worth noting that we had some reports very early Wednesday that the NIL obligations had been fulfilled, and Matthew Sluka did ask for more money. It should be noted, I think, Chris, that came from Carl Reed of 24/7 Sports, who, in addition to working for 24/7 Sports, also serves as Brennan Marion, who is UNLV's offensive coordinator, his agent and representation. I think that should inform how you view those things. Chris, there's a bunch of stuff to get to with this. Where do we start here? Where do we start?
It's so like all morning, all last night, when Antonio Morales, our colleague, threw it to us in a text group chat, I was like, oh, this is going to be something, isn't it? There's two stories here, two sides of the story. One side from the player's side, that they were promised something that they never received. There's the other side, which is we never promised that thing. He's asking for more money than we were giving him. So we don't know exactly yet, as of we're recording this, how it played out. But it's a really, really messy situation to have a quarterback of a 3-0 team, a top 25 team, just straight up leaving the team a third of the way through the season. It's impacted the betting line for UNLV Fresno State. That's ticked down a few points. It is worth noting that he won this quarterback job in fall camp. It's not like he was a starting quarterback before or anything like that. There was a 3-man race. He transferred from Holy Cross, won the job, was playing like okay. I mean, he's completing 43% of his passes, but he is running the ball pretty well. Had a good game against Kansas. But they do have another FCS transfer who came from Campbell, who they also like, who is now going to be the number one quarterback moving forward this week. So everybody just had their take on it this morning. This is why you got to have contracts. This is players are being lied to, all these kinds of things. I'm not there yet because we don't fully know things, but I think it's pretty clear, like, get things in writing. First of all, always get it in writing. And this is the problem with coaches and collectives and working together and who promised what and who's delivering what. You got to know you have the money if money is going to be offered to a kid. Dame, you're a former player. Obviously, it was before the NIL era.
Yeah,
but
obviously.
like, how do you just kind of look at this as a former player?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head to start. I mean, first of all, you gotta get this in writing. I mean, these guys want to be treated like professionals. They want to get paid like professionals. Well, professionals have contracts. So, and that's to eliminate all of this back and forth. He said, she said, heard it through the grapevine. Like, none of us really know. The only people that know are the people that are in-house. So, first of all, I hate to say it, but you got to be professional because that's how you want to be treated. So again, get everything in writing. But, just looking at the kid's perspective, if this is a situation of, hey, we're going to pay you $100,000 and I get $3,000, I'm out the door quick, fast, and in a hurry, just because that is the environment that these kids are in. It's about who's going to pay the most, who's going to brand these kids the best, who are going to pay these kids for their brand. So if I'm him, and if that is what happened, then again, I got to get out of there. But my problem with this and my huge issue with this is we used to always talk about, whenever I played, about eliminating external distractions, eliminating things that were off the field that did not help us win games. And all this NIL and thing, like, all it's created in the way that they did it is nothing but distraction. So now here you are, you've got a team that's playing for something major this season. Every game to them is helping them get closer and closer to a 12-team playoff berth. And now their starting quarterback, who's been playing okay, well, decent for them, is transferring. And it's like in the middle of the season, you have to completely get your team rebuilt around a new guy, get everybody to have faith in this guy. Why? Because there's some dispute about NIL, how much this kid got paid versus how much he was promised. It's all these external distractions. And we talk about it time in and time out about these kids' minds being on, how much they're going to get paid, who's going to offer them the most money. We're not talking enough about how this is affecting kids' mentalities about just the game of football. Like, this isn't about just showing up, playing ball, and winning football games anymore. So it's a tough situation, I guess, to be in, because again, that's the era of college football that we're in. But whether this kid is right or whether he's wrong, whether the coaching staff, UNLV, is right or wrong, again, this just provides to be another distraction.
It's a tough spot for him to be in, because he's not going to be a first-round NFL draft pick. Maybe he gets in a camp, something along those lines. But this is his best chance to get paid. And, it's his last year of college football. And, people say get it in writing, but in February, you're thinking, I want to trust these guys. And I also want to be a team player. I want to get this deal done. I want to commit. Right. I want to help build around it. You talk to Brendan Marion, talk about, hey, I love this offense. You got Ricky White coming back. You got a lot of good pieces. I'm excited about this. We'll figure out the details later, but this is the agreement. And that happens a lot, where you guys are you're not having a ton of contracts signed before a kid commits. It's not unheard of to have that. But, whether you drop the ball on the back end or commit money that you don't necessarily have, that's not unheard of either, but not coming up with it is going to be a black eye on the program. It's messy for everybody. I don't think anybody comes out of this looking totally clean, even though the kid's in a tough spot. But fair or not, there are going to be people who have reservations about bringing him into their program moving forward. I lean toward that's probably not fair, but that's the reality.
Let me ask you this, David, because this is something that's on my mind. And because going back to what you said, this is an unfair situation for this kid. But to me, it almost allows these programs, these universities, not necessarily to take advantage of kids, but to kind of lead kids along like this, right? Because, I was having a conversation with our producer, Cam, and he had asked me, well, how much involvement do players have versus, their agent and their representation? And when I was in the league, my agent handled all of that. Like, he handled everything. And these kids at the college level don't have that same representation. Like, most of these kids don't have any representation. They don't have any agents. So they're negotiating these deals through their families, their father, their moms, their parents, themselves. And these programs know, okay, well, I mean, even look at this situation. Like, okay, well, we promised a kid $100K. We don't get anything in writing. Let's see how long we can string this out based on how he performs, based on how he plays. Is he really worth it? Then they're not sitting here looking at a situation like, well, shoot, we just paid DJU however many millions and he's not performing. So I kind of wonder how much of that plays a factor. So I guess that was more of a rant than a question, but turn that into a question.
Like, how does this play out if he loses the job in camp?
Well, that's one of the questions I had, because like 100K is not hard to come up with if you're a college football program,
especially even Vegas, which apparently
even UNLV, which doesn't have a ton of resources. Like, that's not a lot of money. And so part of my take on the situation is, do they feel like, let this kid bounce? We've got another kid who's just as good or about the same level that we can plug in and not have to deal with that. And there's been some UNLV players on social media, like, supporting Williams, the guy who's going to come in and be the quarterback, and be like, all right, we're behind this guy. This is our dude. So this is not the first time a player has left a team in the middle of a season. Like, we are seeing this more and more now with that 4-game redshirt rule. We had De'Aaron King back in the day when he was a quarterback at Houston. MJ Morris at NC State last year also ended up transferring, even though he said that wasn't why he was going to do it. Just this week, Marcus Freeman announced one of their cornerbacks is going to redshirt the rest of the year and transfer. I think he's like their number 3 cornerback. So, like, this is happening more and more. And I guess, Dame, just as a player, if you had a teammate who just decided to shut it down a third of the way through the season, like, how would you feel about that?
Well, it's interesting you ask, because in the NFL, if I had a teammate who went to a different team in free agency, or, something happened to where they went to a different team because it was a better opportunity for them, it was more money, it was a better situation for them and their family, and obviously I would have been like, go for it, bro. Like, this is your career, this is your family we're talking about, this is your money, go get what's yours. And the college level, that wouldn't have really been the same, just because, again, I didn't really play during this era. So I guess the best thought that I would have is that I would have to support guys right now, because at the end of the day, we know college football is starting to transition look a little bit more like the NFL. So I guess at this point in this day and age, you just gotta wish the best for your bros, hope they get paid, because a lot of these guys are, the guys that are staying are obviously feel like they're getting what they deserve, as opposed to the guys who are leaving and try to go get what they think that they deserve. So I guess it's just got to be a situation where you got to look your bros in the eye and say, if you think that this is what's best for you, if this is going to earn you more money for yourself and your family, then hey, go be happy.
Part of the issue with this whole saga is that there are no rules, nobody's in charge, and it's all very messy.